AM 1460, the new WXBR. You are listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Mike Pava and Peter Zimbor here with you this morning. Joining us on the program is a man who has been entertaining children for decades. He is a singer, songwriter, author, and entrepreneur, the one and only Raffi Kavukian, better known as Raffi. Raffi, thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, good to be with you.
Just last week, Raffi, we were waxing nostalgia about our favorite kids' songs, and of course I had to mention Baby Beluga. So being a Beluga grad myself, I was pleased when I heard that you were still performing to this day. Raffi, do you get enjoyment from performing in front of the children of parents who were brought up on your music? Has it come full circle for you now?
It sure has, Mike, and I'm so glad to hear you say you're a Beluga grad. There are an estimated 10 to 30 million Beluga grads in Canada and the United States, and I love performing, singing with them in concert as I've been doing currently. I was in Boston not long ago, and it's just a thrill to know that my music has some longevity.
It really does, and I'm actually sad that I got to miss you in Boston. Hopefully when you come by again, we'll have to get you on the program to talk about it. So from Banana Phone to Smartphone, Raffi, you're the author of Light Web, Dark Web, 3 Reasons to Reform Social Media Before It Reforms Us. What was the inspiration for this book?
Well, sadly, it was the tragic event of a suicide of a teenage girl named Amanda Todd a year ago in the Vancouver area. This girl, at the age of 15, was so tormented by a cyber stalker, a sexual predator who blackmailed her, and she was so tormented by the experience over a period of a couple of years that she took her life. Interestingly, a full year after her death, the perpetrator, the predator, has not been identified, let alone any charges laid by police. So there's an ongoing issue of young users on social media not being safe, and that was a primary reason for writing the book. The subtitle of Light Web, Dark Web, my book, is 3 Reasons to Reform Social Media Before It Reforms Us, and the very first reason is safety.
Can you explain to our listeners the difference between the so-called light web and the dark web?
Sure. The light web is all that we enjoy about social media and about the internet. As I say in the book, I'm a tech enthusiast. I really enjoy using my laptop, and I enjoy the digital world and all that it has to offer in terms of even making music, demos of my song ideas with the click of a button. We can share files with each other all around the world. We can connect with colleagues and friends, and we can use video calling to see family members. I think all of that is wonderful. But there is also the dark web, which is the shadow side of this technology. And if one examines it, and that's what I'm asking people to do when they read my book, is to become aware of the perils of being online so as to protect ourselves, to protect our children from a whole host of things that can go wrong. And I think that if you're better aware of what you're getting into online, the better you have the chance to make the experience a good one for you and your family.
So what are you trying to get from people who read this book? Should the internet be regulated? Should parents be limiting their children's time on social media and technology? What can be done what can be getting out from the book once they read it?
There's a whole set of recommendations at the back of the book in the appendices for parents, for teachers. I also list what the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends, as well as the Canadian Pediatric Society. I have sensible recommendations for parents, such as setting screen limits for kids and how young might kids be, or how old they should be before they get on the internet, and good privacy setting practices, that any parent can use. But let me say at the same time, I make the case in this book that when it comes to the safety of young users, it should not be solely the responsibility of the parents and the children themselves, important as it is for them to be aware. I lay the onus squarely in front of the multi-billion-dollar companies that bring us these services. So why wouldn't Facebook, for example, make the service that it provides safe by design rather than have safety be an afterthought, which was the case? This is what I'm saying in my book. We can all demand that social media services be safe by design, and that will help all of us to have the best experience. Will regulations be needed at some point? They might indeed be needed, but this book's mission, the purpose of my book, Light Web, Dark Web, is to perhaps ask the questions not being asked. And one of the things I'll tell you, Mike, is that I maintain that a missing consideration in the digital era has been the developmental needs of children. As you know, parents are giving smartphones and iPads, tablets to little kids and for them to use as toys, and I think this is wrong.
Right, and there's a statistic in your book that says by the time a child reaches middle school, they are spending more time with technology than they are with their parents or their teachers. Yeah.
Children have never been as technologized as they are now. And what I'm saying to parents of young children is childhood is a precious time. You've got the whole rest of their lifetimes for tech. So my slogan is, Infotech can wait. The child's mind and brain is best developed by interactions and active play in the real world with all the real toys that children have enjoyed for decades. And for those parents who say, yeah, but I want to give my child a leg up, I want to help them by introducing them to this technology really early, I say that doesn't really work as logic if you examine it, because A, it takes no skill to touch or swipe a screen. That takes no skill. So you can learn that at any age. And B, the technology itself changes so fast that whatever you're trying to introduce to a 5-year-old now will be obsolete in 10 years. So there's no advantage. In fact, the advantage will go to the unhurried child who is well grounded in the real world and who has a healthy imprinting with the natural world, which truly sustains all of us. And that child, well grounded in, as I say, in real play, will do fabulously well with any technology that she or he chooses in the future.
Are there any benefits to this influx of technology and social media when it comes to our children, education-wise, or even just something as simple as multitasking? Are there any benefits or advantages?
Not multitasking so much, because what we hear is that that's not really the best thing for young children, let alone the older ones among us. There are some advantages, yes, of course. I hear all the time from parents of children with disabilities, whether it's kids on the autism spectrum or kids with other handicaps, that various applications, online applications, are helping them express themselves. And I laud that. I think that's wonderful. In all of these situations, parental supervision is absolutely essential. As long as the parent is with the child, there is benefit to be got. And certainly there are learning advantages to a number of programs that are offered online. As I say again, always with a teacher's or parent's guidance. I think that's what makes it best. What's not good is for the infotech devices to be used as babysitters. What's not good is for them to be used as childminders. That's something to stay away from.
We're chatting with singer, songwriter, and author Raffi, and his book, 3 Reasons to Reform Social Media Before It Reforms Us, is available everywhere. Raffi, how do we transform social media and the internet in general to make it safer for kids? What can be done?
Well, I think there are a number of ideas out there. One idea is that you'd have ID verification of users. I'll just give you an example. Right now, the Children's Online Protection and Privacy Act, otherwise known as COPPA, indicates that kids have to be 13 to be on Facebook. let's say. And yet we know that millions of parents are letting their kids be on Facebook way below the age of 13. They're just lying about their children's age. So clearly that's not an adequate way of finding out how old the young user is. Age verification. In other words, you might need the parent to fill out the kind of form that they fill out when they're applying for PayPal or a credit card. That might be required at some point, because we don't want little children to be on social media. I'll say underage children. We don't want them vulnerable. And at the same time, ID verification, if it comes to pass, would do away with 99% of the nefarious activities of predators who hide behind the shield of anonymity online to commit their crimes. We would never tolerate it in the real world that you could go around, without an identity and be able to level threats at people. We just wouldn't tolerate that. Why do we tolerate it online?
So, Raffi, do you think the government should get involved as far as regulating the Internet?
Well, let me answer your question this way. You don't have to be a pro-regulation guy or woman. You don't have to be pro-regulation to sense that at some point we're going to need some regulation of the lawless cyberspace. I don't understand how we can live in two different domains. One is the real world, where we have reasonable laws to keep people safe, and then we have the cyber world that has very few regulations whatsoever. And yet, in that virtual world, our activities can definitely and do harm people in the real world. Mm-hmm. So the virtual world has real-world consequences. It will at some point need regulating.
Let's step aside from the book real quick and talk about the philosophy called child honoring. Can you tell our listeners what that means?
Sure. It's a vision that came to me in 1997 and woke me from a sound sleep. And I understood that all the years that I'd been a children's advocate had led me to my receiving a vision. As I say, I didn't go looking for it. I think it was all my attunement to children and to writing about and thinking about for decades what they need to thrive, culminated in a philosophy called child honoring. And if people go to childhonoring.org, honoring in this case is the Canadian spelling HONOURING, there's a U there, childhonoring.org, you will find a covenant for honoring children and 9 principles that arise from that covenant that you can download for free. You can have a look at it. The essential idea is that how we regard and treat the very young is the key to creating humane and therefore sustainable societies. Because child honoring, while it takes a look at the whole continuum of a lifetime, it's emphasizing the primacy of early years experience as the foundation for a lifetime of behaviors and outcomes.
Now, of course, everybody, Raffi, knows your children's songs, and I'm checking out your website, raffinews.com, right now, and I'm looking at a song called Cool It, and it's the global cooling song. Give our listeners a little more information on that and how that came about.
Yes, I was inspired a few years ago by a Canadian environmentalist named David Suzuki, who was doing a cross-Canada tour to explain to people about the real perils of the global warming situation we're in now. I was inspired to write a song, and I wrote Cool It, and it's a very up-tempo, rhythmic song that everybody can sing along with, and so you don't have to wait for Earth Day to learn the song Cool It. I think parents and teachers will enjoy this toe-tapping way of having our kids aware of the need to take action on climate change.
We're chatting with Raffi. He is the author of Light Web, Dark Web, 3 Reasons to Reform Social Media Before It Reforms Us. Raffi, I want to thank you very much for joining us on the program. Anything to our listeners before I let you go this morning?
Thank you, Micah. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I just would say to your listeners that we live in an age where the digital era has made parenting more challenging than ever. every family will need a policy that's clearly articulated with the kids so that they know what the screen limits are in the family. They know when to put the devices away, those older kids who have them. And parents can rest assured in the conviction and in the experience of child development experts that infotech can wait. It doesn't have to be brought into the life of a very young child. The best childhood we can give our children is with our loving presence and with the limits that we set for them. And I very much appreciate your and your listeners' consideration.
Very well said. The website is raffinews.com. The book is Light Web, Dark Web, 3 Reasons to Reform Social Media Before It Reforms Us. Raffi, thank you very much for being on the program this morning. We'd love to have you on again when you come back to the Boston area.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Metro South Morning Show right here on the new WXBR 1460. We'll be back right after this.